where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I'm going to do one-man Karnak routine here.
Okay. And I will watch the one man.
The Durham report, the FBI's investigation into Hunter Biden, and Rapture. Ooh. What are 3 things I won't see completed in my lifetime? For more on this, as well as January 6th and the domestic terrorist threat assessment based on what has happened in Afghanistan, pleased to be joined by Kevin Brock, former Assistant Director of Intelligence for the FBI and former Principal Deputy Director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Kevin, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. And yes, I'm old enough to remember Karnak.
Good. I'm glad somebody gets me. So, are you in the same camp as Karnak, Hunter Biden, FBI investigation into Hunter, and the Durham report? These are things we will never see completed.
We'll need a longer segment to discuss all of that, but I understand your frustration, absolutely.
Any indication that I'm wrong? Is the FBI going to complete the Hunter Biden investigation, or maybe turn that over a couple of administrations down the road when it doesn't matter so much anymore?
I'm not sure they even have a status on that investigation, frankly. And as far as the Durham report, I do retain some hope that he's going to have to release something. I'm not quite sure whether the length of his inquiry is due to the fact that it's complex and he's uncovering things, or they're just on a fishing expedition and not able to come up with the reasons behind that whole debacle, which would be disappointing because, as I've written many, many, many times, the FBI did not have adequate predication to launch an expensive investigation and political investigation into imagined collusion between the Trump administration and the Russians. So it would be very, very disappointing if nothing comes out of that.
Maybe it could maybe it could be issued by Random House as an appendix to Jim Comey's next book or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another frustrating thing, is that the principals involved in engineering that whole thing, leaders at the top of the FBI who, Jim Comey was a transitory leader, comes in and wreaks havoc. It's going to take the FBI, a decade or so to get over, to get back to where they should be and trusted by the American people as an objective investigative body. That's been just horribly damaged. And he reaps the rewards, making a nice money on books and appearances and CNN town halls and other things that are sympathetic to the view of the left.
So right now, what is America's top national security threat?
The President of the United States. As I wrote in a recent column, the stunning cascade of poor decisions that we have seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks has left the American people with a sense that we are not safe. And that is the exact opposite of what true leadership should be providing to the American people at all times. It is almost inexplicable how the United States could retreat, which they should have, everybody agrees with that could retreat in a manner that would leave Americans and their allied helpers in Afghan vulnerable to a terrorist group, and yet we've done that. And to this day, I haven't heard, unless you have, but I have not heard anybody from the president on down tell us who made that decision, who was responsible for that decision. We've got a lot of finger pointing, but right now we still don't know.
Well, Jen Psaki, the White House spokesbeing, was asked if America is less safe with the Taliban at the helm in Afghanistan. This is how she answered it. Listen to her answer, and let's get your answer.
Are Americans less safe now because the Taliban now has access to billions of dollars worth of American-made weaponry?
Well, let me unpack your question a little bit, because the U.S. military, part of their retrograde effort is to reduce the amount of military equipment or apparatus that anyone on the ground has access to. I'm not going to get into the details of how they do that, but that is part of their effort. I will also reiterate something that our national security advisor said just last week. We had to make an assessment several weeks ago about whether we provide materials to the Afghan National Security Forces so that they could fight the fight. Obviously, they decided not to fight or not, and we made the decision to provide them with that equipment and the material. The third piece I would note that's very important here is that we have not assessed that any group on the ground, whether it's ISIS-K or the Taliban, has the ability to attack the United States. Whoa. We clearly need to, sorry, that was an aggressive bug. We need to ensure that remains the case, but that is not a capability that we have assessed to be the case at this point in time. There's a difference between the threat that is posed to U.S. men and women serving or people who are gathering outside of the gates in Kabul and whether these individuals can attack the United States.
$85 billion worth of armaments left behind, one estimate, and the Taliban, which is a terrorist organization, so designated by our State Department in charge. And she can't quite make the call if that makes America less or more safe.
Yeah, this is, Dan, this is one of the most spectacular and frustrating failures of either intelligence collection and reporting or intelligence interpretation, which either case is a bad situation. So either the intelligence community should be outraged because they gave the president and Pentagon adequate assessments of capabilities, and they chose to ignore it for their own political agenda, or they were not able to make basic assessments about whether or not it's a good thing to leave that kind of military equipment with an army that, if they couldn't see was ready to collapse, then shame on them. There's just no way out of this maze or this corner that they've painted themselves into, and those types of explanations just come across as what they are: transparently weak and befuddled, and telegraphing to the rest of the world that the people in charge have no clue what they're doing.
Jen Psaki would have made a great spokesman for Yuri Andropov. She was telling the press corps that Comrade has a slight cold for months on end while he's dead in the next room.
Well, I mean, it's 33 Black Hawk helicopters. That's more. No, the Taliban have more Black Hawk helicopters than Australia does.
Well, here's the thing about the what's left behind. Her what essentially, if you could parse her doublespeak, she's essentially saying, we don't think they'll be able to figure out how to use the weaponry. Well, that's an interesting approach. We're hoping they won't figure out how. And there's some pictures, unverified, of a Black Hawk helicopter patrolling the skies at Kandahar. So I don't know if they have figured it out, but I mean, certainly taking the posture that, yeah, we left a bunch of stuff behind that is problematic if it's deployed, but we're hoping they don't figure out how to deploy it. That doesn't seem like a very good strategy with the allies the Taliban have that can provide whatever training is necessary.
Yeah. Do you believe that there are no elements in Russia or China that would be willing to go into Afghanistan and train the Taliban on how to use this equipment?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All right, we got to get this other topic in before we let you go. January 6th, the FBI releases this report last week, and, I guess if the press doesn't cover it, it was actually never released. But the report is there's no evidence that, despite the last 8 months of everyone on the left saying a representative republic hung in the balance of this organized insurrection, there's no evidence of coordination. There's no evidence of pre-planning. It's a lot of one-offs was essentially the top line takeaway from the FBI's report.
Right. Yeah. So, and, I'm not sure anybody who, watched what took place that day and is not political, drew a conclusion otherwise. It turned out to be what it looked like, and that is a bunch of people at a rally who got overexcited and went in. This is not excusing trespassing in the Capitol and breaking through security and that type of thing. But I've worked terrorists, quote unquote, from all ideologies, on the left, the right, internationally, and everything else. And particularly what this group was being painted as an anti-government white supremacist crowd. That group of true terrorists that fall into that camp are hapless. They can't organize themselves out of a paper bag. They don't have that type of planning skills traditionally. So those of us who have worked these types of issues for years, we're looking at this and realizing, no, this is not some sophisticated, coordinated effort, because that just doesn't happen in the real world. It turns out to be what it was, and it was certainly not a planned insurrection. Shouldn't be described that way. It was a mess.
Doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I mean, the response you get from the left to this report, if you get any, is, well, those people that breached the Capitol and attacked the Capitol Police Office, they should be prosecuted. I agree. Agreed. Totally agree. Okay, now that we're done with that, we agree that people who break the law should be prosecuted. Not a position the left normally takes, but they're taking this case. Good for them. Now that we're done with that, let's now talk about what you have been saying for 8 months. Armed insurrection, republic in the balance, lost our democracy. That is untrue according to your administration's FBI. And there is no accountability for what you have been saying for the last 8 months and denigrating 75 million Americans who voted for Trump because of the unruly and illegal behavior of a few hundred Americans on January 6th. It seems to me Christopher Wray and others have a responsibility to trumpet that information.
Well, and it should be trumpeted because the other side trumpeted their message, which was our goal all along, was just to get that narrative out there. It's going to be tough to overcome it. But they're desperate. And now they're even more desperate, Dan and Amy, because of what's going on in Afghanistan, because they're losing control of the left narrative. If the crowd on January 6th had only gone into the Capitol and shoplifted, and if the Capitol had only been located in San Francisco,
then we would have been
all
fine.
All charges would have been dropped, and they could have continued shoplifting. So this is the kind of craziness that is happening around the country that is leaving the American people confused and unsettled and wondering whether we have any true leaders in this country right now at all.
Yeah, that's a good description of where a whole host of Americans are at, myself included. Kevin Brock, former assistant director of Intel for the FBI, former principal deputy director of the National Counterterrorism Center as well. Kevin, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Good talking to you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Petroleum Company still assessing damages from Tropical Storm Ida. Biden environmental madness goes on. PNC Bank boosting starting pay. Those stories next. As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He created the best pillow, and Mike created the Giza Dream bed sheets. Mike found the world's best cotton, called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Mike's latest incredible deal is the Sale of the Year. For a limited time, you will receive 50% off Giza Dream sheets. You'll receive a set for as low as $49.99. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use promo code Dobbs. There you'll find not only Mike's amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow mattress topper and so much more. Call 1-800-977-9152. Use the promo code Dobbs. Go to MyPillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code Dobbs. Even though it was downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm, Ida still has caused massive damage and flooding, especially along the Gulf Coast, where oil refineries remain shut down. 96% of U.S. production is still suspended as pipeline operators check for damage as well as electric power needed to resume operations. With hospitals in many areas challenged by overcrowding from China virus cases, President Biden plans to plow forward with more ways to handcuff operations by demanding hospitals hospitals cut carbon emissions in line with Biden's Green New Deal philosophy, calling it more, quote, environmentally friendly health care. PNC Bank has become the latest bank to raise its minimum wage to $18 an hour in order to attract quality employees. Please join me 3 times each weekday for my updates right here on this station. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Lose that summer vacation weight quickly and reset your metabolism with NJ Diet. NJ Diet uses new technology that consists of hair and saliva sampling to customize a personal weight loss program just for you. They contractually guarantee you will shed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. NJ Diet is a hormone detoxification system that evaluates and targets each individual person's needs, then balances your hormones where the side effect is weight loss. Then NJ Diet utilizes DNA testing, to create your personal diet plan and workout regimen so you can keep the weight off. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet is all natural, no shots, no hormones, no prepackaged foods, and no surgery. Locations in Skokie, Oak Brook, and around the world with live online video consultations. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. Or log on to njdiet.com to lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
Hi, it's Amy Jacobson, and you've probably seen the stories that some big box retailers are caving under pressure from progressives to take MyPillow products off their shelves. They're still doing it. By now, you've all heard me talk about MyPillow, and now Mike Lindell has done it again. He's introduced the MyPillow My Slippers. It's taken him 2 years to